Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast on this 12th of December 2018. I'm your host, Ril Dil Quinn, taking you, talking about as we discuss the world of sports and pop culture. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at William Gerald or follow me on Instagram at Real Gerald Quinn. Again, I would like to thank everyone who wished me a happy birthday. Just 25 minutes ago. It seems like the day was a blur. It went by quickly, as as most birthdays do. Before they come, before they you're leading up to all this anticipation of the birthday. Then all of a sudden gets here, and then boom, it's looking forward to your next birthday. But again, thanks to everybody who you text me, call me, hit me up via Facebook, Instagram. So many ways to connect to people in 2018. So definitely made it that much more enjoyable, and look forward to talking to some other people as well. Couldn't get to everybody, but hey, still some time left in December as we near the end of 2018. Again, this podcast is being will be available to my Blog Talk Radio audience, also iTunes, apple.itunes.com, and YouTube. Of course, we are streaming live on my YouTube channel. Go to and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Real Deal Podcast. Again, also always appreciate the listens, the views, and the subscribers as well. We begin with the NFL, which had a very, again, I understand the whole premise that there's a lot not to like about the NFL in regards to on the field, especially in what's been happening off the field. But this is one of the Sundays, and this is one of the Sundays, and it carried over somewhat into Monday. I know Seattle pulled away late, but that was a hotly contested, very close game for the most part. But it's one of those Sundays that that if you put all the nonsense aside, if you put all the Roger Goodell and everything that's going on in the NFL over the past 4 or 5 years aside, and you just want to enjoy football, Sunday was a day where there was a lot going on, a lot of close games, a wild finish with what transpired in Miami. But we're going to begin with what I thought was the most impressive performance of the weekend of of week 14, and that was what the Los Angeles Chicago Bears did to the Los Angeles Rams in at Soldier Field, 15-6, a dominant defensive performance over a team that I feel like and still feel like pound for pound has the best team in the NFL in terms of the Rams, and is a team that to me is the most complete team in the league. They just ran to a bus off Sunday night. The Bear defense was phenomenal. The game plan was flawless. It was flawlessly executed, and if you take out Todd Gurley and Aaron Donald, you're gonna have you're gonna have a pretty good chance of beating the Rams. Good luck. Good luck with that, because those are two of the top. I would say if you put in excluding the quarterbacks, you can make a case that those are two of the top five players in the league. I mean, a lot of people, not Aaron Donald will receive MVP votes. Forget about Defensive Player of the Year. He's got that probably. I think he's probably securely got that locked up. But he's going to receive MVP votes, and of course we know there has not been a defensive MVP since Lawrence Taylor back in, of course, that legendary '86 season where he just, was just prime LT and just was changing the game. So they completely shut the Rams down. It was one of those games where, again, that Bear defense is just relentless. Even the secondary has played well. You see what Kyle Fuller can all of a sudden can catch a pass, catch an interception. Last year he couldn't catch a cold. Trubisky kept the Rams in it because it could have been much worse. But Trubisky, I can understand why Bears fans he's gonna drive them crazy, because at the end of the season, and the Bears are not gonna make the Super Bowl. The Bears are very good. but they're not a Super Bowl caliber team because they don't have it. Your quarterback isn't ready yet. So at the end of the season, what Bear fans are going to do is they're going to say, you know what, if we had a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback, we would be Super Bowl champions. Don't you know? Don't drive yourselves crazy if you're a Bears fan. I think the progression that Trubisky has made from year one to year two gives should give you hope moving into the future. Remember, this is only his second year. It's only his second year. They could still add some weapons in terms of receivers. Again, young team, developing team. So I think next year will be a big year for Trubisky, seeing and if you're a Bear fan, seeing if this guy can be a franchise caliber quarterback, a quarterback that can possibly lead you to the Super Bowl. As far as the Rams goes, the thing that would concern me is, and again, I don't want to overreact to one game, but the thing that I'm looking at is Jeff Goff in these big time games. Now, again, he was great against Kansas City. Not Jeff Goff, Jared Goff, excuse me, Jared Goff in these big time games. He is still the question mark, and he is still the player that will dictate whether or not the Rams win the Super Bowl or even get to the Super Bowl for that matter. So I need to see Jared Goff in a big game, playoff game, home or away, really go out there and put the Rams over the top. I like Goff a lot. I think Goff is a lot. Can make all the throws. There's a lot of talent. Of course, we know how well coached he is with McVay. But again, until you see him in one of these plays again, he played that defense. The Bear defense is the best in the league. I mean, you can go either way, either Chicago or Baltimore. I know statistically Baltimore has all the numbers, but Chicago's defense, I would take Chicago's defense because I think Khalil Mack, number one, is by far the best player between the two defenses, and number two, I think the Bears pass rush is would scare me if I'm an opposing offense versus Baltimore's. But again, both are tremendous defenses, especially in today's NFL, where you can't breathe on the quarterback or touch a receiver. So great performance out of the Bears. The Bears are in the driver's seat for that division with what transpired on Monday night with Minnesota. I still don't, Green Bay salvaged a win on Sunday, but that Green Bay is not a factor. It's not going to be a major factor moving forward. They're not a playoff caliber team. We know this, but they kept their season alive. Relatively alive with what with the victory on Sunday. Baltimore, Kansas City. You had. I thought this was a great game, and I like to thank these two franchises from saving me as a fan of the Washington football team from what transpired. That pile of shit on at Atlanta at FedEx Field, and I'll get to that game. I'm just putting it aside for right now, but I definitely will get to that game. But this was a classic contrasting styles, great offense versus great defense, and throughout the course of the game, you saw both have their moments over the course of the game. This was a great, great football game. Again, Pat Mahomes continues to impress in these big spots. I know, again, I understand he had a lot of turnovers in the Ram game, but he also made a ton of plays. This guy is fearless. This is a great win for Kansas City because Baltimore is a rough team to play against because Baltimore is going to play their style right now. And again, he could be out there. Who knows what happens with Jim Harbaugh? But I'm telling you right now, if Jim Harbaugh is available and you need a head coach and your team needs a head coach, you would be foolish not to make that call. Not for Harbaugh to be one of your first calls. Did I say Jim? John, excuse me, John, excuse me. Jim coaches Michigan, John Harbaugh. I still think John Harbaugh is a legit top coach in this league. I just think he's been in Baltimore too long. It might be time for him to move on. But that team plays hard. That team is a rough team to play. They have a great defense, and now they've got to a point to where they're so uncomfortable with their quarterback situation. What they're doing is they're just going to run the football. They're going to run the football. We know Lamar Jackson is not ready at this point as a pocket passer, so we're just going to throw the football. Okay, we're just going to throw the football. So if I'm, if he gets fired or decides to quit, John Harbaugh again, he can coach my team any day of the week and twice on Sunday. He is a very still a very good coach, still an upper echelon coach. Again, this was a game where Mahomes made some plays, 4th and 9 conversion, which was again only there's only one other guy in the league that can make a throw like that. Maybe Carson, a healthy Carson Wentz, but we know that you have Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers who can make similar who can make the throws that Mahomes made or that throw that Mahomes made on that 4th and 9 play. That's just God given. You can't teach it. You wouldn't advise throwing across your body on the run, but that we've seen him time and time again make these just super freak throws that no other quarterback outside not named Aaron Rodgers can make. And again, maybe Carson Wentz healthy, not Carson Wentz this year, maybe 2017 Carson Wentz or 2019 Carson Wentz, but not Carson Wentz of 2018 could possibly make that throw. But again, made some big plays. Um, Kansas City sets themselves up for a possible home field advantage, especially with what transpired in Miami. And again, that's a bit. They'll have a showdown, of course, Thursday night. Great Thursday night game with San Diego, who is right on their heels. But again, very good, great game. Baltimore again, they're gonna run the football um, at all costs. Like this is where they at right now. They have a running quarterback. They have solid running backs, good decent offensive line, and again they do what you do. Again, this is not something that can get them to the Super Bowl. That it may not even get them in the playoffs, but this gives them their best chance to win. So Kansas City takes out Baltimore 27-24. And again, when you hold Kansas City under 30 points, you're doing something big. The miracle in Miami, they're already calling it 34-33. New England falls to falls to Miami. I want to talk about everybody's talking about the play at the end, and rightfully so. One of the plays that is not being talked about enough was what happened with Tom Brady at the end of the half, where Brady basically had a brain fart, and instead of it being 30-21 with a field goal at the end of the half, he takes a sack, no timeouts, the clock runs out. It was a big 3 points. You're talking. I mean, that was a huge that was a huge play in that game. Otherwise, I mean, New England wins 36-34 or 36-30, 36-35, or it would have been a situation where Miami would have had to go for it, would have had to only not only score a touchdown but also convert a 2-point conversion. So that play at the end of the half, or that brain fart by one Tom Brady, was a major play in that game. That's frankly did not get talked about enough. But in returns of the miracle return, listen, you can sit up here and blame Belichick, you can blame Gronkowski, you can blame the coverage, and what have you. That was as well of an executed lateral, a double lateral, in terms of a kickoff, a miracle return, miracle end of the game play that I've ever seen, ever. Normally plays that in the game like that, you see about 5 or 6 passes and 3 or 4 flags for a legal forward pass, somebody doing something that's going to draw a penalty or holding something. That was just flawless execution by the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins deserve all the credit, about 98% of the credit when it came to that play. You had what ended up having three laterals total. Um, no, a double lateral. Kenyon Drake makes a great cut to the middle, and does the rest. Rob Gronkowski took a bad angle, okay, took a poor angle, and Drake outran him. It's just that simple. But they give Miami credit how they executed that last play. To me, it was more about what they did versus what New England did not do. Again, Miami keeps their playoff hopes alive. New England, that loss is going to cost them home field advantage. Now they still have a chance at the number 2 seed because Pittsburgh has completely fallen apart. Houston lost to Indianapolis. So New England still has a. I think I can see New England still maybe possibly getting the 2 seed, but I think either Kansas City or San Diego's probably going to get the number one. More, I would lean towards Kansas City. They have the inside track, so nice win for Miami. Of course, tough loss for New England. Indianapolis 24, Houston 21. So Houston has had that long winning streak, 9 game winning streak snapped. Andrew Luck continues just to play at a comeback player of the year level. 34 touchdown passes. That's second to Mahomes. Is 43. Big so Luck almost cracks 400 yards passing. T.Y. Hilton, who used to be one of my fantasy football favorites as a receiver, went for 199. At some point, listen, Houston was not going to run the table here, so I'm not going to go crazy. Divisional game. Indianapolis had to have the game to have any hopes of maintaining their keeping their playoff hopes alive. So they did what they had to do in terms of that. Dallas over Philadelphia 29-23. Dallas from the line of scrimmage absolutely dominated this game. 556 yards of total offense. The only thing that kept Philadelphia in this game was a number of Dallas turnovers. Dak Prescott, I don't care about the numbers he had as far as passing yards. This game was won because of Amari Cooper and the offensive line. Prescott almost single-handedly kept Philadelphia in this game. Philadelphia made enough plays in a wild fourth quarter that produced over 30 points when nobody could score for the first 3 quarters, seemingly. Wild fourth quarter and overtime. Dallas gets the ball, and overtime goes right down the field to a tired Eagle defense. I don't even think the Eagle defense played that bad. Forget about the yards. They handled their business in the red zone for the most part against Dallas. The first few quarters, the offense could not sustain a drive whatsoever. So I don't think the Eagle defense played as poorly as what the numbers might indicate as far as yards. Yards can be deceiving sometimes. I just think when it got to overtime, they ran out of gas. Dallas now is in complete command of the NFC East. Again, it would take to me, a monumental collapse by the Cowboys not to win that division. Like, who's going to catch them? Philly, again, we saw this coming. You can almost see it's coming a mile away with Philadelphia. Super Bowl hangover, injuries, their secondary. They're playing guys off the street. The only thing that kept them in that, and then another thing that kept them in that game was the Philadelphia defensive line, which still can wreck a quarterback and can still cause havoc. You saw Bennett and Fletcher Cox all over the place, but that secondary it's raw, it's brutal. I know they had a couple of interceptions, but for the most part, you can do whatever you want against that Philadelphia secondary. So Dallas should have clear sailing as far as I'm concerned in terms of winning the NFC East. And of course, we had the Washington football team, which, for a franchise that has one playoff win since the 2005 season, for a franchise that hasn't been to a conference championship game in 27 years, what transpired on that field Sunday was something for the books, and it was something that, if you're a fan of this team, and I have been going back to 1986, NFC Championship lost 17-0 to the Giants. But if you're a fan of this team, it goes beyond embarrassing. It goes beyond frustration, getting pissed off. It's just something that you have grown accustomed to, and it's just something that really speaks to the heart of the culture of that team and where that team is at right now. Now, I've never been a Jay Gruden guy. Okay, I've never been a Jay Gruden guy, But the one thing you could say for the most part about his teams is that they always play hard, no matter who's playing quarterback, no matter how many guys were injured, no matter the state of the offensive line or running backs. The team, for the most part, outside of occasional blowout, which happens to most teams in the NFL occasionally, but for the most part, the team competed, fought, and fought at a high level, no matter how ugly the game was. What happened against a team, a 5-8 Giant team, right? A Giant team, excuse me, coming in a 4-8 Giant team, a Giant team that's not any good, a Giant team that has nothing to play for, a Giant team that was playing without their second best player. Saquon Barkley's their best player. Um, Odell Beckham's their second best player. Let's get that clear. And I think you saw that in what transpired in the Washington game. That Saquon Barkley's clearly, clearly that best player. Matter of fact, Alex Ogletree might be climbing them charts as far as the Giants, one of the Giants' best players. He's been tremendous over the past couple of weeks. But allowing the team to come into your stadium when the games still matter for Washington. Remember, Washington came into that game not 3 or 4 games behind Dallas. They came into that game 1 game behind Dallas, one, having split with the Cowboys during the regular season. Okay, so realistically, still had a chance to win the division, even though we came into that game thinking if Mark Sanchez is your quarterback, that the season's over. So that, and anybody who thought that was 1,000% right. If Mark Sanchez is your quarterback, you don't have a team. So, but the performance on the field was uh, again, it was something that they have not had too many of those performances um, in the Jay Gruden era, right? They haven't. They've had some bad losses. 2 years ago, losing to the Giants at home was a tough one, considering that you had the home field, and that the fact that you were playing, that the game should have meant more to you than it should have. The Giants, even though the Giants were also going to the playoffs, but the Giants had already clinched. The Giants had already clinched the division. Um, so I mean, the Giants already clinched a playoff berth, so the game should have meant more to Washington, clearly. But that's just a bad loss. That wasn't about effort. That was just about execution and mental mistakes. This was we just don't want to play. We just don't want to play anymore. There's zero excuse. The Giants, these are not the '86 Giants or the 1990 Giants, or for that matter, 2007 Giants. This Giant team has been awful this year. I don't want to hear about, well, they're playing better and they're kind of, Joe Buck. Oh, the Giant team that's all of a sudden hot. They're not hot. The Giants. You've watched the Giants all year long. The Giants. They're not playing hot. They're not playing well right now. They're not a good football team. I know they, have put together a couple wins here and there, but they're not good. The Giants suck. The Giants are a bad football team with their own form of dysfunction. Okay, there's no way that team should come and go into anybody's stadium and be up 40-0 ever. Okay, so again, that game speaks to the culture of the Washington football team. It's just that simple. And again, I don't understand. I don't see how. Not that I'm confident about the person that's going to be making that. I trust the person who's going to be making this decision in terms of Bruce Allen to make the right decision in terms of who's going to be the next coach of this team. But if there was any doubt that there was going to be another coach, in terms of in the Daniel Snyder era, that there's going to be another coach. There will be a new coach next year for the Washington football team. There's no two ways about it. That if that didn't seal the fate of Jay Gruden, I don't, nothing will. Again, that was as bad of a performance that you know, that you'll ever see in a game again in a playing a team that's a bad football team and playing a game that still meant something as far as playoff implications for Washington. And again, amazingly, as we stand here on a December 12th, Washington, despite that, is still in the mix, in the hunt for that sixth seed because of with Minnesota falling. Minnesota, they are right there, still in the mix. Minnesota, I believe, is six. Look at the Minnesota's record here. So it's 6-1-1, if I'm not mistaken. Look at it again. As we stand here, 12:49, December 12th, the Washington football team is still in the playoff mix. They are just a half game behind the Minnesota Vikings and have the advantage of having the same amount of wins because that tie that tie could end up hurting and keeping Minnesota out of the playoffs. So they have a better, let's see, conference record is about the same. Conference record, uh, Minnesota again is 500. Again, they're right there. That's what I'm saying. They are right in the mix of the playoffs, but we know that team is not a playoff team by any stretch of the imagination. So you had that. Overall, with the NFL right now, the team that again I continuously keep my eye on week in and week out, and Pittsburgh had a bad loss against. I didn't want to leave them out. Pittsburgh had an awful loss against the Oakland Raiders. Right all of a sudden, Pittsburgh 3 weeks ago was looking like possible Super Bowl favorites, and now they're gonna be struggling to make the playoffs. They were that uh, fortunate that the Ravens won, but right now Pittsburgh, that and Pittsburgh has a tie. I mean, they have a tie on there. They have a tie as well. Matter of fact, split the season series against the Ravens. So the Ravens are right in the thick of that divisional race with the Pittsburgh Steelers, who just can't get out their own way. Overall, I think that again the team that I've been watching out for and have my eyes on are the San Diego Chargers. I think the Chargers, if there's not a better year for the Chargers to get to and possibly win the Super Bowl. New England is not what they once were. Pittsburgh cannot get out their own way. Kansas City still got to see Mahomes in a big spot in the playoffs. Still, first playoff game, we'll see how he handles that pressure. Again, and go to NFC. The Saints are leaking some oil right now. They desperately need home field advantage. They haven't played well in the last couple of weeks. You see the Rams. Jared Goff still needs to prove himself. I don't trust Dak Prescott in Dallas, or Chicago to be able to score enough points in the postseason. I know the defense has been playing great, but they're not going to be able to score enough points. Seattle won't be able to score enough points as well. Minnesota, so you have a bunch of teams that just won't be able to score enough points. San Diego right now has a perfect balance to me, being able to put points on the board, pass rush, veteran, thirsty veteran quarterback that is John Elway hungry to get to a Super Bowl. Remember, Philip Rivers is going to the Hall of Fame one day. He's going to the Hall of Fame one day, but Philip Rivers does not want to be put in the same category as a Dan Marino, as a Jim Kelly, as some of these guys who Fran Tarkenton, some of these guys who are considered to be great quarterbacks, Hall of Fame quarterbacks that did never won a Super Bowl. Matter of fact, Rivers is even worse. He's never even been to a Super Bowl, and you only get so many chances in the NFL. I thought that San Diego team in 2006 was the best team in football. And still, I'm still sure that LaDainian Tomlinson and Sean Merriman are still figuring out how they lost that game to New England in that divisional game. That was a game they had no business whatsoever losing. But right now, San Diego, it's all right there for San Diego. Now again, they're gonna probably need Melvin Gordon, a healthy Melvin Gordon to get to the Super Bowl. But let's assume that he gets back. They have everything that it takes that you want in a team in terms of getting to the Super Bowl in this year. In this year versus prior years, where San Diego could not close out a game, couldn't win a close game. They've been great in close games, and I honestly don't believe that San Diego needs home field to get to the Super Bowl. Matter of fact, I think they've played their best football on the road, and I'm not so sure that playing at home would even maybe the week off would benefit them. It never hurts to have an extra week off to get fresh, for fresh legs, and especially for Melvin, giving Melvin Gordon the extra week if it gets to that point to where he doesn't come back before the regular season ends. But the bottom line to me is that team is the most dangerous team in football right now. And again, no one, New England, Kansas City, um, whoever, no one wants to see that team in the playoffs. And I've been saying it throughout the course of the season. I will continue to say it. That team is as dangerous as any team in the league. That team has, outside of Rams, I think pound for pound, I can make a case that the Chargers have as much talent on both sides of the ball as any team in the league. So overall, I think that San Diego was a huge winner this week as far as what transpired. I'm not going to say, despite what's happening with these defensive performances from Dallas and Chicago in the last 2 weeks, a offensive dominated team will win the Super Bowl. So New Orleans, Kansas City, San Diego, New England, to a lesser extent, Pittsburgh. Those are still the teams that to me are um, are still a notch above everybody else, and still you're not holding New Orleans under 30 in their building. I don't think you're holding Kansas City under 30 in their building in the playoffs. I think you're going to score anywhere from 27 to 30 points to have a shot against those respective teams, the Rams included. You had one rare day where Ty Gurley and Aaron Donald were non-factors. That will not happen again for the rest of the season where they both are non-factors. That's just not going to happen. So you're going to have to score some points in order to deal with those teams. So again, you have a big Thursday night game with San Diego and Kansas City, a game which I think will decide the division. Again, it's a must win for San Diego if they want to have any chance at a divisional title as well as a number 2 seed. Remember, San Diego. It's conceivable that San Diego could finish the year. They are 12 and they are 11-3 right now. Excuse me, 10-3. San Diego could finish the year 13-3. 13-3 and be a number 5 seed. Remember, this goal, the divisional winners automatically are higher seeds no matter what the record is, and so they could either San Diego could be a 1 possibly, or even or a 5. So if they lose against Kansas City um, Thursday, they're probably going to be locked into that fifth slot. A couple of things going on around the league that you saw. Reggie McKenzie, like yesterday, was fired. No surprise, Gruden, John Gruden wants to just absolutely clean the house. John D. Filippo, the offensive coordinator of the Vikings, was fired. Viking offense has been struggling over the past couple of weeks, and again, that offense with the talent with those wide receivers, with an above average quarterback should not, and frankly above average running back. That you should be, the offense should be putting up anywhere from 25 to 28 points a game. So I understand the defense isn't what it was last year, but it's still very good. That offense has not produced. So again, if you're the head coach, before the owner comes down and says your time is up, you have to do whatever it takes to kind of right that ship. Vikings still have an opportunity to make the playoffs. The Vikings still have an opportunity to possibly also win a division. Also, you had Andrew McCutcheon, former MVP, longtime Pirate, signed a 3-year, $50 million deal with the Philadelphia Phillies. I think it's a little much myself to be giving a guy who to me is past his prime that kind of money. Um, I think the Phillies were outbidding themselves. Again, the Phillies are like, they have a ton of money to spend. I don't know how realistic it is going to be for them to sign Harper and Machado. I think they probably will land Machado. If I were a bet man from that standpoint, I think Machado probably would end up in Philadelphia, Philly. Not sure where Harper's going to end up. Who knows? Again, chances are it'll be the place that pays him the most money. That's how normally these things work out with baseball. Harper is looking to become the highest paid player in Major League history, even past Giancarlo Stanton. Of course, you had the winter meetings with baseball. There have been some rumblings about Syndergaard going to the Yankees. Now, it makes perfect sense from the standpoint of Yankees need starting pitching. The Mets are rebuilding and looking for young, top top rated prospects. Yankees farm system is loaded, as we all know. They have a plethora of young talent, pitchers, position players. They are absolutely loaded as any farm system in all of baseball. So, I understand if you're a Met fan, you're saying, you got to kind of swallow your pride and be like, look, let's we want the best prospects. We're keeping DeGrom, Syndergaard. And again, I like Syndergaard. I think Syndergaard. I still think Syndergaard has a chance to be a Cy Young caliber pitcher. But the bottom line is you need prospects. You need bodies. The Mets farm system is horrible. It's bad right now. They need young talent and they need young talent fast. That's how you improve. That's how that's the way baseball is run right now, about developing and cultivating young talent. And uh, a Noah Syndergaard to the Yankees trade would go a long way towards helping to rebuild the New York Met franchise. Harold Baines got into the Hall of Fame. I don't understand how in the world anybody with a vote could put Harold Baines into the Hall of Fame. Harold Baines is a classic case of a compiler, a guy who hung around, compiled some stats, and even those stats that he compiled are not exceedingly impressive. Not like he compiled stats to reach 500 home runs or something like that. Harold Baines had three 100 RBI seasons and no 30 home run seasons. He never was considered one of the best players in all of baseball. He never was the MVP. He just so I don't again with baseball. To me either a guy more times than not with the Hall of Fame in any sport, baseball and football in particular, either the guy is a Hall of Famer or he's not. I'm not one of these people that say, well, he's a Hall of Famer. He's not a Hall of Famer in 2018, but he's a Hall of Famer in 2028. Like, no, it's just not. I just don't believe in that. But he gets in. The Veterans Committee got him in. But again, I don't. If you go look at his numbers do not blow you away. And again, he was a very good player. A threat to always, lead the ballpark in terms of the home run ball. But he was not a. I don't never think of Harold Baines. I never thought of Harold Baines as a feared slugger. Like, you feared Vladimir Guerrero, certain guys that you got up that you absolutely were terrified. Even somebody like, Gary Sheffield. He Baines did not carry nowhere near that fear factor as an offensive player. So, but he does get in, and yeah, he does get in. So from him, good for him from that standpoint. But again, the winter meetings are upon us. We'll see what Machado, Harper, guys like that land. Um, Again, I don't like the McCutcheon to Philadelphia Phillies to Philadelphia at all. But again, they have a ton of money to spend. They're gonna spend it on something. They're gonna spend it. They're gonna spend this money. That's all there is to it. As far as the NBA goes, again, the NBA every single night there's a meaningful game. I want to deal with the LeBron Wade, um, conclusion, and they play, of course, they played their final game against each other last night at Staples. Staples gave Wade video tribute, which is fine. He's one of the few guys that actually deserves a video tribute, not these guys that get traded after they've been with the team for like 2 years. But it was very interesting. I was thinking about this with those two, especially when with Wade's comment in regards to saying the big three and what transpired in Miami changed the league. I'm not going to go that far. I understand it had a definite impact on the league, but I'm not going to say it changed the league. And remember, there was a big three before that. That wasn't the first big three. Boston certainly, certainly would have a lot to say in regards to big threes in terms of what they had. Um, you know, summer 2000, starting summer in 2000 and 2007. But I just wonder what the Eastern Conference and the NBA would have looked like had LeBron chosen not to play with Wade and had that. See that was supposed to be the NBA's next great rivalry. Now I'm not going to say it could have did it would have did Bird and Magic and Bird. That's that would be the greatest, or Russell and Chamberlain. But you're talking about two guys that came in the same draft class. You're talking about two. You're talking about Dwayne Wade had no fear of LeBron James whatsoever. Every time they played against each other, they had battles. I would have loved to see how that would have manifested over the course of a decade. I really would have. I did not like the idea or the fact that LeBron chose to play, chose to join Dwayne Wade versus going tit for tat with him, toe to toe with him for the better part of a decade. That's the first thing. Um, so you had that from that standpoint. Again, Wade is to me. If I'm ranking two guards, I have Wade fourth behind Jordan, Kobe, and Jerry West. You don't believe me. If you don't believe me about Jerry West, look up the numbers, watch some clips. He's the NBA logo. The guy won the MVP of NBA Finals that his team lost. Um, he is the iconic all-time great player. Period. So I had to put Wade behind him. I I enjoyed watching Dwayne Wade play especially Dwayne Wade, what he did in that 2006 Finals will always be remembered. Even though they got a lot of help from the officials, we got to be honest about that. But regardless, that was one of the great Finals performances in the last 15 years. Easily top, four or five finals performances in the last 15 years. So, I think Wade, if he chose to, I don't think he's a TV guy. I don't know what Wade wants to do post career. I don't see him being a basketball lifer. You know, he's married to Gabrielle Union. Maybe gets into some entertainment stuff, but I don't think Wade. I think Wade's gonna quietly kind of just go about his business. I don't. He doesn't. I don't see him being a television or a coach. To be honest with you. But again, that to me, when I thought about watching LeBron and Wade, it is the rivalry that never happened, that never was, and it's something that as a basketball fan, you would like to see what uh, what that could have been, especially for the Eastern Conference. The Eastern Conference needed that in the worst way to have those two, future Hall of Famers, all-time greats, going at each other. As far as the NBA goes all around, a couple of things. Number one, the Sixers, even though they're winning. You have Embiid complaining about his role. All of a sudden, you look at his last four out of the last 5 games. One game he didn't play; he was nicked up. But they have not. He's not played well the last week, and not shot the ball well. Had some low scoring games, and says he doesn't like his role, and that's why. And I talked to Sixer fans, and this is why I don't believe in that team whatsoever because that team begins and ends with Joel Embiid, period. And before Jimmy Butler came along, we were talking about Joel Embiid as being a possible MVP candidate, right? It's not, so I don't care, Jimmy Butler should not change the role of Joel Embiid. Like those words shouldn't be coming out of Joel Embiid's mouth, right? at all. And I'm not even blaming Butler. I think Butler is coming in and doing what he does best. He can score, he can defend. He's not afraid to take a big shot. But you have your superstar MVP caliber player complaining about his role. That to me, that's lack of management from the locker room, from the standpoint, from a coaching standpoint. That should not be happening if you're Brett Brown, and you cannot forget about the Markel Fultz thing is an organizational thing. I'm not putting that on Brett Brown, but Brett Brown has to fix this situation um, with Joel Embiid, because the bottom line is Joel Embiid is the number one option on that team. Ben Simmons is the facilitator, and Jimmy Butler to me is a guy that Joel Embiid's role on the 76ers at this stage in his career, and especially that the way that he's playing. Shouldn't be any question about that. Not surprised by what happened with the Heisman Trophy. I was a little disappointed in terms of I thought Tagovailoa should have won. I felt like he was penalized for Alabama's dominance. Remember, this guy did not throw a pass in the fourth quarter until late in the season. I'm talking about uh, I'm going to say it was against probably against Auburn. Okay, so his numbers should not be, you know, you're going to give the edge to Kyle Murray basically strictly on numbers. But I'm saying this guy, Tagovailoa, left a lot of touchdowns and a lot of yards on the board because Alabama was just blowing people out. So again, I took it as who's the best player on the best team. Alabama's the best team. He's there. He was there. The straw that stirred the drink, and I thought he should have been a Heisman Trophy again. It's not. This is not like Marshall Faulk losing to Gino Torretta back in the day. It's not that bad, but was really surprised. I was really a little disappointed that they chose Kyler Murray. But again, it's not that big a deal as far as could have went either way. We kind of saw this coming a little bit as far as with the hype of Kyler Murray. You have his performance against Texas versus Tagovailoa's performance against Georgia, and then you had he wasn't able to finish the game. So there were a lot of factors going in Murray's ways. What is in Murray's favor towards the latter part end of the season. We're gonna do end of the year best of in terms. So we'll do heavy movies. Um, on the music, of course, we'll go talk about that. Television, so we're gonna say that for like one of our end of the year podcasts. As far as new music is concerned, I got a chance to listen to Ice Cube's album. Again, it's a very good album. Not gonna sit up here and rate it compared to his prior works, but it is a definition to me of a grown man. You want to call it the album for the OGs? I'm 40, so it is right up my alley. That fun, of course, it's 3 or 4 tracks that you could just skip past. You wouldn't have to listen to after you listen to it once or twice. But for the most part, I was fine with the album. Um, Again, it's just be your be your authentic self, especially when it comes to music. I couldn't take Ice Cube talking about wearing skinny jeans or getting mohawks. I couldn't take it. He's talking about grown man stuff. So I respect it from that standpoint. There are about at least I would say 6 or 7 tracks I really like that I can listen to repeatedly. But for the most part, again, it's a solid album, and again, it adds to again what has been to me a historic year in the world of hip hop and art, or hip hop in particular, rap. But with that being said, the best rap album I've still heard on December 12th is still Nipsey. I mean, still Nipsey. Nipsey's album is still the best album I've heard all year long, and I feel like there's not gonna be a better rap album that'll come out for the rest of the year. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast. As always, you can find me on Twitter at William Gerald. Follow me on Instagram at Real Gerald Quinn. Apple.itunes.com. As always, this is the Real Deal Podcast, telling it like it is with no apologies. Thanks for listening.